Part 8. The Joint Operation. Summons from the Republic. The alien fleets regrouped, striking deeper into Republic territory. The Council knew that only the combined strength of its two greatest captains could repel the invasion. Orders were sent. Kale Draven and Orion Vera would lead a joint operation, their regiments fighting side by side for the first time since the Academy. Kale read the summons with a clenched jaw, side by side with Orion. After all these years, Orion received the same orders, his expression unreadable. So it begins. First meeting as captains. The War Council chamber was tense as Kale and Orion entered, their regiments waiting outside. The generals outlined the mission, a coordinated strike against an alien fortress on the frontier world of Arden Prime. Kale's eyes met Orion's across the table. We'll need precision. Discipline. My regiment will hold the line. Orion leaned back, his voice calm but sharp. And mine will break it. Chaos is the only way through. The generals exchanged uneasy glances. Two philosophies, two legends. Could they work together? The Battle of Arden Prime. The alien fortress loomed like a mountain of steel, bristling with weapons. Kale's Iron Fang regiment advanced in perfect formation, shields locked, artillery firing in rhythm. Orion's Stormbreakers surged ahead, striking from unexpected angles, their fury scattering enemy lines. At first, their strategies clashed. Kale's soldiers struggled to adapt to Orion's unpredictability. Orion's fighters bristled under Kale's rigid commands. But as the battle raged, something shifted. Kale saw the openings Orion created, and his regiment exploited them with precision. Orion saw the stability Kale provided, and his fighters used it as cover for their raids. Together, they turned the tide. The fortress fell. The Republic cheered. And for the first time, Kale and Orion stood side by side in victory. Respect forged in war. After the battle, Kale approached Orion, his voice low. Your chaos, it works. I didn't see it before. Orion smirked faintly. And your order keeps the storm from burning out. I didn't see that either. For the first time, their words carried no venom, only recognition, respect. Closing scene of Part 8. The sun set over Arden Prime, the alien fortress smoldering in ruins. Kale and Orion stood together, their regiments cheering behind them. The Republic broadcasted their victory across every channel, citizens marveling at the sight of the two legends united. And though they had fought side by side only once, they both knew this was not the end. It was the beginning of something greater. Part 9. Saving each other. The ambush. The alien war was escalating. On the frontier world of Dathros, Kale's Iron Fang regiment and Orion's Stormbreakers were deployed together to secure a vital energy relay. The mission seemed straightforward, until the aliens struck with overwhelming force. The battlefield erupted in chaos. Alien war machines descended from the skies, their weapons tearing through defenses. Kale's regiment held formation, shields locked, artillery firing in rhythm. Orion's fighters surged forward, striking from unexpected angles. But the enemy was relentless. Kale fought at the command post, his blade flashing as he directed his soldiers. Orion fought at the front, his fury driving him through the storm. And then, disaster struck. Orion falls. An alien war machine, towering and bristling with weapons, broke through the lines. Orion charged, his blade slicing through its armor. But the machine struck back, its claws slamming into him, sending him sprawling across the battlefield. Kale saw it happen. His heart clenched. If he falls, the line breaks. If he falls... Without hesitation, Kale surged forward, his blade flashing. He struck the machine again and again, his fury burning brighter than ever. Finally, the war machine collapsed, its carcass smoldering in the dust. Kale knelt beside Orion, his voice sharp. You're not dying here. Not today. Orion's lips curled into a faint smile, blood streaking his face. Didn't think you cared. Kale's jaw tightened. I care enough to keep you alive. Kale's rescue. Hours later, the battle raged on. Kale fought at the command post, his regiment holding the line. Orion, still wounded, refused to retreat. He fought with reckless fury, his blade flashing through the storm. Then Kale faltered. An alien strike tore through the defenses, sending him sprawling. The enemy surged forward, weapons raised. Orion saw it happen. His heart clenched. If he falls, the line breaks. If he falls... Without hesitation, Orion surged forward, his blade flashing. He struck the enemy again and again, his fury burning brighter than ever. Finally, the attackers fell, their carcasses smoldering in the dust. Orion knelt beside Kale, his voice sharp. "You're not dying here. Not today." Kale's lips curled into a faint smile, blood streaking his face. "Didn't think you cared." Orion's jaw tightened. "I care enough to keep you alive." Bond forged in battle. As the sun set over Dathros, the battlefield smoldering in ruins, Kale and Orion stood side by side, their regiments cheering behind them. They had saved each other, not once but twice. Their rivalry was no longer just competition. It was survival. It was respect. It was the beginning of something deeper. Closing scene of Part 9. The Republic broadcasted their victory across every channel, citizens marveling at the sight of the two legends united. But in the silence between them, Kale and Orion knew. Their bond had changed. They were no longer just rivals. They were brothers in arms. And perhaps something more. Part 10. Confessions in the Dark. Aftermath of Dathros. The battlefield of Dathros still smoldered, but the regiments had withdrawn to a temporary base. Kale sat alone in the infirmary, his body aching from wounds, his mind replaying the moment Orion had saved him. Across the room, Orion rested, his own injuries bandaged, his eyes closed. For the first time in years, silence stretched between them. Not the silence of rivalry, but of something unspoken. A shared vigil. Night fell, and the base grew quiet. Kale rose from his bed, limping toward Orion. He hesitated, then spoke softly. "You should be resting." Orion opened his eyes, his voice low. "So should you." Kale sat beside him, the weight of exhaustion pressing down. "You saved me today." Orion's lips curled faintly. "You saved me first." Their eyes met, and for a moment, the walls of rivalry crumbled. They had carried each other through fire, and now, in the quiet of the night, they could no longer deny the bond between them. Confession. Kale's voice trembled, though he tried to keep it steady. "I don't know what this is. Rivalry. Respect. Something more. But I can't ignore it anymore." Orion's gaze softened. "I've felt it too. Since the academy. Every duel, every battle, it wasn't just competition. It was connection." Kale's heart pounded. "We're alphas. The Republic won't understand." Orion leaned closer, his voice firm. "Let them talk. Let them debate. We fight for survival, not their approval. And I'd rather fight with you than against you." The words hung in the air, heavy with meaning. For the first time, Kale allowed himself to breathe freely. The first touch. Silence stretched again, but this time it was different. Kale reached out, his hand brushing Orion's. Orion did not pull away. Their fingers intertwined, a simple gesture that carried the weight of years. In that moment, the rivalry transformed. They were no longer just competitors. They were partners. Closing scene of Part 10. The suns rose over Dathros, casting light across the base. Kale and Orion stood side by side, their regiments preparing for the next battle. The Republic would see them as heroes, rivals, icons. But in the quiet of the night, they had confessed the truth. They were more than rivals. More than comrades. They were bound by something deeper. Part 11. Forbidden Desire. Whispers in the Republic. News of Kale and Orion's growing closeness spread quickly through the ranks. Soldiers whispered in barracks, analysts speculated on broadcasts, and the Republic Council watched with unease. Two alphas, both S+, both heroes. Yet their bond defied tradition. Alphas were meant to lead, to dominate, to pair with betas or omegas. Never with each other. The idea of an alpha-alpha union was unthinkable. And yet, Kale and Orion could no longer deny what had begun between them. Private struggles. Kale sat alone in his quarters, staring at the message from his father. Alphas do not bend. They do not yield. They do not pair with equals. His jaw tightened. But Orion isn't just an equal. He's everything. Across the base, Orion trained in silence, his blade flashing through the air. His soldiers admired his ferocity, but inside, his thoughts churned. We've fought side by side. We've saved each other's lives. And now, I can't stop thinking about him. Both knew the truth. Both feared the consequences. The first kiss. One night, after a brutal campaign, Kale found Orion alone in the command tent. The air was heavy with exhaustion, the silence thick. You should rest, Kale said softly. Orion turned, his eyes burning. So should you. Their gazes locked, and the walls crumbled. Kale stepped closer, his hand brushing Orion's. Orion did not pull away. Their lips met, tentative at first, then fierce, as years of rivalry transformed into passion. For the first time, they allowed themselves to feel what had always been there. Fear of discovery. The next morning, they stood side by side before their regiments, their faces unreadable. No one could know. Not yet. The Republic was not ready. But in the silence of the night, in the shadows of war, they had crossed a line. And there was no going back. Closing scene of Part 11. As the suns rose over the battlefield, Kale and Orion stood together, their regiments cheering their names. The Republic hailed them as heroes, rivals, icons. But in the quiet of their hearts, they knew the truth. They were more than rivals, more than comrades. They were lovers. And their love was forbidden. Part 12. First Kiss. The weight of secrecy. The war against the aliens raged on, but for Kale and Orion, another battle brewed in silence. Their regiments fought side by side, their victories broadcast across the Republic, but behind closed doors, their bond deepened. Every glance carried meaning. Every touch lingered longer than it should. Yet they kept their secret hidden, knowing the Republic was not ready for two alphas to love each other. Kale felt the strain of secrecy pressing down on him. We fight for survival, but I fight for him too. Orion carried it like a burden. The Republic can cheer our victories, but they will never cheer this. The moment of truth. One night, after a brutal campaign, Kale found Orion alone in the command tent. The air was heavy with exhaustion, the silence thick. You should rest, Kale said softly. Orion turned, his eyes burning. So should you. Their gazes locked, and the walls crumbled. Kale stepped closer, his hand brushing Orion's. Orion did not pull away. For a heartbeat, they hesitated. Then, as if drawn by destiny, their lips met. Tentative at first, then fierce, as years of rivalry transformed into passion. The fire between them. The kiss was not gentle. It was the culmination of years, of duels, of battles, of saving each other's lives. It was fire and storm colliding, order and chaos entwined. Kale's hand gripped Orion's shoulder, pulling him closer. Orion's fingers tangled in Kale's uniform, refusing to let go. For the first time, they allowed themselves to feel what had always been there. Fear and resolve. When they finally pulled apart, breathless, Kale whispered, "We can't let them know." Not yet. Orion's gaze softened. Let them talk. Let them debate. We fight for survival, not their approval. And I'd rather fight with you than against you. Kale's heart pounded. For the first time, he believed it. Closing scene of Part 12. The suns rose over the battlefield, casting light across the base. Kale and Orion stood side by side, their regiments preparing for the next battle. The Republic hailed them as heroes, rivals, icons. But in the quiet of the night, they had crossed a line. And there was no going back.